Thelema, Coast to Coast, Show 35, October 27th, 2006. Do what thou wilt should be the whole of the law. Welcome to Thelema Coast to Coast. My name is John Crow, and I'm the host of the show. Before getting into the show, I want to remind listeners there are 4 ways to contact the podcast. First is via email, podcast@thelemacoasttocoast.com. Through the website, www.thelemacoasttocoast.com. Through the voicemail, 206-600-5782. Yes, that is a new voicemail number because, yes, I let the other one expire. It went over 30 days without receiving a single voicemail comment, and so it expired, and I had to get a new one. So, let that be a reminder to please send a voicemail. Also, the mailing address is Thelema Coast to Coast, care of John Crow, P.O. Box 7045, Marietta, Georgia, Marietta. The zip code is 30065, and that's in the United States of America. In addition to those 4 ways that I mentioned, email, web, voicemail, and regular mail, there is a Thelema Coast to Coast MySpace page. It's at www.myspace.com/Thelema Coast to Coast. And currently there are 1,065 friends, so thanks to everybody who joined. But I know there are more listeners out there who have MySpace pages, so please go on over to the MySpace page and request friendship, send feedback, look at the blog, leave comments. I see it all and really appreciate that. And also, if you go to the Thelema Coast to Coast website, you'll see a link to go to the Frapper map. Currently, there are 389 people listed on the Frapper map in dozens and dozens of countries. I want to welcome the listeners listening in Mexico, Portugal, Slovenia, Croatia, Russia, and I want to send a special hello to Greg Lyons in Thailand. Good luck with your vows. As this podcast is coming out at the end of October, I did not have one out for Crowley Mass on the 12th, so I hope everyone had a good Crowley Mass. And speaking of not having one out earlier, yes, it's been a delay of a little over a month, and I've just really been busy. Thelema Coast to Coast comes out every 2 weeks or so, but really it comes out when I have time and content to deliver. So sometimes it goes 3-4 weeks or more. But I do appreciate all of the emails and comments on MySpace and messages on MySpace and comments everywhere asking where the podcast is and saying that everybody's looking forward to it. So I appreciate the interest and the desire to listen to it. So here is the next podcast, number 35, so I hope you enjoy it. Going back to the voicemail, there's been less feedback than I've expected over the course of the last month. So just to remind everyone, please keep the email coming as it lets me know how I'm doing. And the emails and voicemails that I get are kind of a feedback loop that let me know how the show's going and kind of keep me motivated. So if you all are really interested in seeing more shows, send more feedback. And I'd like to request feedback that kind of addresses the show. I do appreciate the feedback that says that people are listening and that they enjoy the show, keep up the good work, etc. And that is appreciated. But I'm looking for more substantive feedback, if possible, addressing some of the issues of the guests on the show, asking them some questions that I could forward to them, or questions or comments about some of the content. So, that would be appreciated too. Okay, in that vein, I did receive a couple. So the first one is from Dan Olson. He writes, Dear Thelema Coast to Coast, do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law. After listening to episode 34, I was impressed with your new, more lively approach to show hosting. Well, thank you. Your comments and introductions were more lively than usual, which made the show more engaging in an immediate sense. I hope you continue this approach in the future. I enjoyed your interview with Keith418 for a few reasons, one of which was the sheer boldness of addressing the issue of cultishness the way you did. Why do people use the word cult? Why would, say, the OTO seem cultish be a bad thing? They're uncomfortable questions that must nevertheless be asked. I was a little disappointed that neither of you discussed what, in particular, makes Thelema and the OTO so threatening to today's culture and society. This had the unfortunate effect of giving the discussion a bit of a counter-cultural flair, i.e., what we're doing and what we stand for are so completely transgressive and confrontational that society is making an organized effort to thwart us lest it be destroyed. An attitude elsewhere expressed about wearing long hair, smoking pot, and listening to really horrible music. What is it about Thelema that is so dangerous? What would it be? I think this is a fertile ground for discussion, and hope either you or Keith talk about it at some point. Love's the law, love under will. Dan. Thanks for the feedback, Dan. Well, Keith and I actually kind of discussed this a little in our discussion on this show. We reference your email in particular. But, the transgressive aspects, it gets a little more complex than just, naysaying or just haphazardly rejecting everything that is standard in society. So I'm going to let the conversation that I have with Keith418 kind of address this email. And if that doesn't really answer your questions, please send another feedback and we'll see what we can do. The next one is from a listener named Thomas. He writes, Greetings again, John 93, from a Canadian and regular listener. Your segment on cults and cultism was interesting. That's one drink. The OTO is not a cult, but shouldn't be afraid of being labeled one. I spent 7 years in the Children of God, now known as the Family International, from 1976 to 1984. That was a cult. One's lifestyles and beliefs are dictated by the head of the spiritual hierarchy, both control through words, letters from the top, and peer pressure. Both local leadership and associate confirms the control. Do what thou wilt should be the whole of the law, gives freedom of expression, not tolerated in cults. The problem with the OTO, as I see it, comes from its fear of exposure. Groups that are not afraid of the cult label publish. The OTO should have all of Crowley's works in the stores, with contact info included. If it's really proud of Crowley's legacy, then it should be out there promoting the law Thelema and not be afraid of controversy. Again, the OTO is not a cult, and members shouldn't be worried about being perceived as members of one. 93's Tom. Well, this really is a problem, and you kind of touch on it a little with the publish. The OTO in the 80s and 90s, or early 90s, was very active in its publishing efforts and getting Crowley and Crowley's material out there. Over the last decade or so, they really have not made a very strong effort to do that. The last major work that came out was the astrology book for $80, and that was quite a massive tome. And but as far as I'm aware, it's not selling too well. Liber Abba, Book 4, has gone through 3 printings, but it really has kind of saturated the market. Those who are interested in it have gotten it, and those who haven't probably not going to get it. What's worse is it's now at an $80 price. The original's coming out at $50. And the worst part is really the fact that when it first came out in the 6x9 version, it was so riddled of errors that it was quite embarrassing. So that the OTO had to come out with the 7x10 version that fixed so many errors. In fact, I think one of them even addressed the priestess as him in the Mass. I mean, these kind of errors are just outrageous. So it's kind of unfortunate when those things happen. Recently, The OTO has not been doing very good about its publishing. I have a letter it sent out in the late 90s, and it says that, they were going to come out with 5 different books, and of them, it was astrology, and it took many years after that. I remember when I was in Europe, there was talk of lots of books being published there, but they're not coming out. Germany had a lot of pirated Crowley material that the OTO effectively shut down, but the OTO is not replacing it. So Germany is becoming quite a void of Crowley's work, and so a friend of mine went to France recently and said, he couldn't find any of Crowley's work in Paris, and went into occult bookshops and asked them about Crowley, and they'd never even heard of him in some cases. So it's not doing a very good job of promoting Crowley. And it could be doing a lot better, especially in English. So this really is a problem. I don't know if it's related to the being feared as being called a cult, or a lot of other internal issues with production, or even dedication to the ideology of, or the philosophy of Thelema. So it really is a problem. The cult thing, though, is something that we need to continually look at and be concerned about, and look at why people are so afraid of being called a cult. Not occult, a cult. So thanks for the feedback, Tom, and let's keep an eye on this, and I'd appreciate other feedback from people about the being called a cult within occultism. The next feedback is a voicemail feedback, so here it is.
Hi, John. I'm a listener from Los Angeles, and I really enjoy the show a lot. And I also really enjoy reading the material you have on your blog. And I am not an OTO member, but I am a Thelemite. And I do wish that they would work more to keep the books by Crowley in print. And it's a little disappointing to me that there are so many works that are unavailable to me now, and that I'm forced to buy used instead of new. So thanks a lot for the hard work. I really appreciate it. Thanks.
Thanks for calling. Yeah, as I addressed in the last email, it is unfortunate that the books aren't coming out. I'm not sure what the reason is. If the OTO needs money, I don't know why it's not asking its members for more money to put out the books. If the OTO, I know the OTO is not liking material. In fact, I know they have a number of books they could come out with. So, and they also have a bunch of books that they own the rights to that New Falcon had that they haven't republished. So I'm not exactly sure what the deal is there. And maybe someone from the OTO can send an email and let us know what's going on and why the books are so delayed. All right. The last email is a little amusing. It's from a listener named Jason. He writes, "Hi, John. Don't know if you visit YouTube much. I do occasionally. But there is an extremely popular video blog on there from a user named LonelyGirl15. It's about a 15-year-old girl and all the boring stuff that happens to her, her boyfriend, her dad. She always talks about her religion, but never said what it is. There's speculation that it is Thelema. She has symbols related to Thelema on her website, www.lonelygirl15.com. Just thought you might find it interesting." Thanks, Jason. I am familiar with the Lonely Girl 15 production that was put on. Some time ago, it was revealed that it wasn't actually real and that it was kind of an acting or online experiment. But I think it's still continuing. For those who don't know, there's this user who called herself Lonely Girl 15. She put out a bunch of video blogs on the YouTube site, and in it she makes references to her religion and ceremonies they do. She has a picture of Crowley on the wall. If you go to her website and scroll down to it, it's got a unicursal hexagram on it. It's got the word Thelema written in Greek, and there's lots of other references. The reality is, she's not a Thelemite. The whole thing is a production, and the way they represent Thelema is completely false. She talks about things like going to summer camp. There are no Thelemic summer camps. She talks about things like doing a important ceremony at the end of a summer camp. Again, there is no summer camp, and that's not the way things operate.